Okay. So, welcome everybody. As Chris and Nat, our chair and vice chair, are um, not able to attend today, would any of you like to accept the chair responsibility and run the meeting?
Oh dear.
If you'd prefer, I'm happy to run it, and I will take it. I'll take the lead here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll pull up the agenda for today. Scroll in. So we will be doing call to order, staff updates, new signage, talk about Marine Park, IPM reminders, inspections, some other stuff here. It looks like that Chris and Nat may have had. I think everybody got this out, so I don't need to keep sharing that. We'll adopt that meeting as approved. I also sent the meeting minutes out. Did anybody have any adjustments to those, or do you need me to pull them up also?
They
Well-
looked fine and they looked quite succinct, which I was grateful for.
See, could I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
I mentioned to Chris a few days ago that apparently the garden is the code was found out by some homeless person that's going in and out of it.
Yeah. Hey, Cordula. Before we get in there, do you have anything to add about the meeting minutes, or we need to? We have a couple things we need to get
Well,
through.
I asked her if she could put it in, so she didn't, obviously.
No, but she mentioned for me to adjust it, to address it. So we'll address it later in the meeting.
Okay, great.
Anything else about the meeting minutes, or will we adopt them as sent?
Uh-huh.
So moved or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll adopt those. Okay. So, gee whiz, let me get the agenda here, I guess, since I'm going to be going. New garden signage. So I've been waiting to get some here's what I'll say is y'all have seen the garden signs. They are inaccurate. I wouldn't say inaccurate. They don't have the accurate information as far as contact information. So we've been working with the garden or the Parks Department on getting those. I was hoping to have some templates back. The verbiage is gonna be very similar. They'll just be more, if you walk through any of the parks, you'll notice that there is a kind of a standard to the way things are going. Let me see if I can pull something up real quick here. All right. I'm going to share my screen again real quick here, and I'm just going to show you. So this is the kind of the master plan for like signs. And so while this isn't necessarily the color that we're going to have, you'll see that you'll see if anywhere you go, you'll start seeing these kind of blocky signs with different kind of color schemes. The signs that are on all of our community garden sites are, as I mentioned, kind of outdated. And so we were waiting for Tom Campbell to get back to kind of assist us through helping these. You'll see some of them have various things on there. If you read the signs at the gardens, they talk about kind of caring for the space and respecting the space. And so we are just going to kind of mimic that and just change the phone number and the emails. You'll see they're all going to be kind of the sign. I like the blues a little bit better. So I think we'll probably play around with the colors to make ours a little bit more unique, and see if we can't, you can see here where they've added a little bit of artwork down at the bottom. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of show you that we will be getting some new signs similar to these probably by the end of the year, especially, and I'll try to get out all of the verbiage, or at least the draft, before it goes to print to this group. Again, I was hoping to have it for you, but I don't have it for you. So any questions, concerns about the signs?
No.
Okay, great. I'll go through my staff updates pretty quick. I was talking about Marine Park. We still have that money coming through, and Architectural Services is hopefully providing a timeline of when construction will take place. I expect probably mid-May, early May, hopefully they'll start laying down irrigation and the decomposed granite. The plan still at this point is for the community to assist with the kind of construction and filling of the modular community garden beds. So, we're looking at probably mid-May when that would happen, with the idea being that it would be, an open by, July 1 would be my hope. Now, that being said, and knowing how busy and other things that the city kind of gets, I would say that if we have most of it at least ready, or at least purchased, we may not have it open until like mid-July, just knowing that, people are going to be going on vacations and stuff like that. So it is still moving forward. And so if you do hear of anything about any concerns, please just send it my way. We've already had one meeting out there. We met the community out there a couple months ago, and it went really well. So we will be doing that again in later April as construction starts to go. We found that taking out donuts and coffee and stuff like that always kind of keeps people happier. So we'll do that again. Thanks to all of you guys who were out there, who have talked about Marine and have supported it throughout the years. It's been a long time coming, and so I'm really happy to see that coming through. IPM reminders, I have integrated pest management on there. We're going to be there just a reminder that with the summer crop come and it seems to be an influx of rodents and rodent activity going after tomatoes and watermelons and stuff like that. So I think that we should just I'll make it a point of, in my next updates, just kind of reminding people on some best management practices for IPM, whether that be companion planting or, using screening or netting or those other things. We've been asked to put some IPM reminders in the Seascape that will be coming out in June. So for the summer, for the summer program, and we'll be talking about the removal of rodenticides and such like that from the gardens. Garden inspections. So they are next. Oh, Susan, you got a question?
Teague, is there a possibility of getting the owl box back up? Just wondering.
Yes, we will put it back up. It really needs to be up for nesting season, so it wouldn't need to go back up for another few months. The guys who put it in last time, they used an untreated 4x4, and that busted off at the bottom. So we'll need to put it on a metal post and get it resituated down there. But yes, Susan, we'll get that back up. Thanks for reminding me. And I think we'll also probably try to put one down in Marine Park, which seems to be a much better and suitable place for an owl. While I like having one up at Main Street, I think our chances are pretty slim of finding one come through there. But so.
I have an extra owl box if you need it for Marine.
Yeah, we'll take it. I would love to have one. Yeah, certainly.
Okay.
A garden inspection. So next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, will be my garden inspections. As you all know, when we kind of worked through the operational guidelines and responsibilities, there was a paragraph in there that talked about being part of kind of almost a mediation. I don't remember what the term we utilized. an arbitration meeting, like so gardeners that have received notices of forfeiture or fourth violations would go through an arbitration hearing where we would be selecting at random, 3 garden advisory committee members and a couple staff members just to kind of review it and to give some advice on moving forward. I say that because there are 2 that have received their 4th and a 3rd that probably is near to getting one. And so we are going to be implementing that in the near future. I've been pretty tough on the last few months on, inactivity. And while, it may not quite show yet, it certainly is going to be coming to the point in the very near future where either things will be happening or people will not be renewing their community garden plots. So I'll be out there next Wednesday and following through. And just a heads up that we're going to be working through that arbitration process a little bit, and just this will be the first go around to see how it goes. Any questions on that? No? Okay. And then last that I just want to mention are the fees update. So we had set in place a 3-year fee increase, small, medium, and large gardens. This year, small gardens are currently at 100, medium gardens, which are 250 square feet to 350 square feet, are at 116, and large gardens, so anything over 350 square feet, are at 132. The plan was over a 3-year phase-in process. They would increase up. So next year is year 2, and so we are prepared to implement again another fee increase. So small gardens would be at 100. They would remain there, and they will remain there. Medium gardens, so 250 square feet to 350 square feet, would jump up to $132 for the year. And the large gardens would be going up to $164 per year. And so that is scheduled to go into effect July 1. Prior to making any of these, we had the suggestion was that we create an opportunity for people that have our income concerns to reach out and to ask for some type of scholarship. And I'll let you know that this year, so this, starting in July through this next year, we only had one. So so we'll continue moving forward with that. I think that shows that most people could. One of the things I was able to find is if people are, if the first initial payment is too much, we can do a couple like monthly payments if that works out. We can do that through invoicing. So, we will give that possibility if people are having a hard time covering costs. So we're scheduling for fee increases. I wanted to open that up. Is there any discussion or questions about that?
No, sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
And I believe, Santa Monica Roots, had put forth, the idea that they would help, do some fundraising and should somebody need it. And again, we only had one person that needed it this year, and we were able to get that covered. So perfect. We'll keep moving forward then. That's it for my staff update. Any questions on staff updates? Cordula, I'll address your question about the locks, the Main Street lock. It seems somebody got the code for it. Is that what you were saying?
Cordula, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, one of my neighbors flagged me down and told me that he was observing, he lives right at the corner, an elderly neighbor going into the garden on Hollister, I guess the first one, and she was having a hard time getting in. But then she finally did, and then she went in and then put the, I guess, let the lock drop. And this person went over there and took down the number and then went in behind her, and, you know, she didn't even observe him. And I think what might be a smart thing to do, and I noticed that a lot of people don't do that. As soon as you get in and you have your numbers and you brought yourself in, then change the numbers immediately. But it's too late for this person. Now, apparently the guy said he never saw him come out, so I don't know if he sleeps there. I know people jump over the fence. I just thought I'll bring it up to you because we've had some issues and people, you know, are concerned about getting in the garden. But I don't know how we're gonna ask people to follow the request to change as soon as they get in, to change the lock so that nobody can read the numbers. So even if we do a new set of numbers, it's still, you know, gonna be a matter of time before somebody figures it out. So I don't know.
And that's okay. But Chris did mention that she thinks it might be time for a code change. So I'm actually going to be out of town all of next week. So I will send a note that we will change it kind of effective immediately when I get back. That way I can be around if there were issues. Last time I left, there were some issues on people getting in. So
Okay,
so we will change the code, and I'll send a reminder to folks about rolling the numbers after they open the gates to change up the combination.
okay, one quick question. Okay, is there a possibility of ever getting keys back again? Is that, oh,
No.
forget that. Because when we have a key, that's so much better, so much easier. Sometimes the locks, I mean, especially with the trash, half the time I don't know how to open it, and a lot of people are having trouble. So sometimes it goes for 2-3 days and nobody can get into the trash. So it's been an issue for off and on for a long time.
Well, when you say long time, because we've mentioned keys, but this is the first anybody's shared with me that the trash has been an issue for a really long time. So are we talking like
No,
a
off and
year long, or are you talking like for like the last month we've had concerns?
Oh, no, we have off and on. And I thought I mentioned it, but maybe I didn't. But I'm not the only one that had troubles. You know, I'll try to go out with my trash and then sometimes, oh, you won't be able to get in.
Hmm.
So, you know,
Yeah, the
so-
lock gets stuck every so often, and it just needs WD-40 to unlock, to unstiffen it.
Okay, I'll try to like add like a monthly like lock maintenance to my task list, and just remember like on the first of each month just to kind of go through and try to check them all so that there's some going through. I know that especially during the cold and the rain, they do get a little sticky. So
Yeah,
I'll go through and do some maintenance, and we'll try to remember to do it. Okay, thanks, Cordula.
Sure. Forget the keys though, right? That's not happening.
No keys. Sorry, but no keys.
Thanks, Susan.
Teague, I did very much like the rolling of this. This actually made it easier. The sort of 2, 3, 1, 8. So if you could think of another clever combination like that, I would appreciate it.
Yeah,
Well, I didn't really think of that one. That one is the address of the garden. So yeah, Kaya, you're on mute, so you'll need to unmute yourself before you talk. Kaya, you are on.
Kaya, you have to
muted.
unmute.
I did want to bring up the disability issue in relation to the locks. I mean, when I was down on Main Street, forget it. I mean, the locks were just horrible. Somebody that's disabled cannot turn those rollers and get those locks. And even the one up on Park, I can't do that one. So there's that issue. I mean, so we can't do keys. I mean, Euclid, we have the push thing, but I think we ought to try and accommodate the disabled here if at all possible with getting in with the right, something that's at least easier for us to open. to put
All
that
right,
on the
we
agenda.
will add that to an agenda, as an agenda item, or start looking into it a little bit more. Thank you. I didn't realize that they were, I know that they've always been difficult. I will say that we have keys up at Ocean View Farms, and the locks and the gates are left open, and the keys stop working occasionally. So there's always going to be issues. My concern with keys would be that we would also need to rekey it occasionally, and then instead of just changing a combination, we are talking about reissuing keys to everybody, and I just think that we have to consider that when we start talking about keys.
How about a gate man?
The gate man, little electric fobs, we could look at little electric fobs. So all right, let's move on. The shared harvest and food pantry pilot. So one of the things we've talked about previously is, the Ishihara Park and the way they put food outside. And so I met with Ishara and Tim down at Main Street, and we're going to pilot a kind of that food pantry. So we're going to have you've seen them around Santa Monica and places. They are like little, instead of the little free libraries, there's a little free food pantry. And so we're looking at procuring a box that would serve as that, and then arranging to have some type of a hanging basket. So Ishara and Tim are willing to kind of arrange to lead a shared harvest at Main Street, like twice, I think once a month is what they said. So like a certain Saturday or so, they will commit to being down there at Main Street and gathering from everybody else. It's not a new concept. Y'all have done it down at Main Street before. We tried to do it during the early in the pandemic. And then the idea being that they would then put that food outside on a regular basis for sharing with the community. One of the things that we do at Ishihara is that we also pick up produce from the Venice Family Clinic and put it out. And so Ishara and Tim have also agreed that if we can get excess produce from either them or like the Westside Food Bank, that they would make that delivery as well. Shannon and James, Velez Conway, my supervisors, both really feel that adding in some spaces where people that are in the gardens can share some produce or things with other with people that might be just kind of visiting the park would be a good solution. So we're going to try to pilot something down there at the Main Street Garden, and then we see how it works, and then maybe move it into some of the other gardens. The box, the little free pantry itself will be mainly non-perishables. So the idea being that people can kind of come and drop things in there, so we'll see how it goes. We're going to try to get it started in late May, and so we'll see how it goes. But those, Tim and Ishara, are going to be leading the charge down there at Main Street, and we'll see if it works well. Then we'll see if we can implement it at other gardens. Okay.
Will it be rat proof? We have, since Main Street has such clever rats, will the box be rat proof?
It will need to be closed. Yes. So thank you for making that point. The goal, I think, we anticipated it being, a secured front. So,
Okay.
I hung that message board on the outside there next to underneath the big sign. Really, and I knock on wood a little bit, kind of expected it to be,
Vandalized?
yeah, I guess that would be the term, and it hasn't been. So that makes me happy. Yeah, you cross our fingers. I don't want to knock on wood here. So So we'll make it rat proof, and then Tim and Ishara will. I was hoping they'd be here today so they could kind of present, but I think they'll probably start talking a little bit more at the next breakfast in the gardens, which I think is this Saturday. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to events. We have a breakfast in the gardens and a soil mycology workshop this Saturday, correct?
Yes.
All right. Susan, Kristen, Cordula, Andy, are any of you all going to be down there?
Yeah, I'll be there, but I don't know anything about teaching the mycology. Do you have someone who's going to teach?
Yes, James Oliver, someone who knows Chris is going to be leading that. So I'll check in with Talia and make sure that she's got everything that she needs. And Chris is in charge of that one. So
I have a conflict at that time.
yeah, no worries. I know Saturdays are a little tough. So we have that this coming Saturday. The following Saturday, we have our pancakes in the park at Ishihara. If y'all haven't been there for,
Please keep hands away from mouth.
Sorry,
I
I
have no
apologize.
captioning.
So the following Saturday, we have the pancakes in the park at Ishihara Park. And it sounds like next month we're going to have a Kiddical Mass is going to come back. So Chris was going to ask, I think y'all's group, the Kiddical Mass event is going to be on the second Saturday, and wanted to just question Main Street gardeners if you thought that having your breakfast in the gardens on that second Saturday and an open house conflicts in any way with having a Kiddical Mass at a different garden. Susan doesn't think so.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When you always do it on Saturday, I'm working at 10 o'clock, so I can never make any of those events. Is there any other times you could ever make it? I mean, is that the only time early in the morning on a Saturday, or is there any
So
possible?
yeah, it's not the only time, but it is certainly the time that the volunteers that have agreed to run those events are willing to do those. So if we have others that people are interested in having a different time, we'll just need to make sure that whoever is wanting to have the different times is willing to kind of be there and help organize and run it, because volunteers may not be there. But I do agree, Cordula, I do think we need to kind of change some of the dates and times up a little bit, because there are others that can't make it there on Saturday as well.
Right. Well, one of the reasons, because I was talking to Chris, and I don't know if she mentioned it to you, I have worms, and I would love to share the worms with. She was going to bring it up, but since she's not here, I don't know if she mentioned it to you. So if anybody's interested in starting their own composting, because I think you have one of the events as the composting, so I can provide worms. So you can give them my information and I'll be happy to share.
Fantastic. Kaya, I see you have your hand up.
Well, I was just, the minute she said worms, I was like, I want worms. But I can't, I can't do it myself. I'm not able to take care of it myself. I just thought there were going to be worms that I could stick right in the, like I once ordered worms from online, to just put in my garden, and they came out. That's what I thought it was. Sorry. And I just got all excited about having worms.
Yeah. Well, it's not complicated. It's just you have a box and you put a little soil in, paper, and then and I'll give you the worms, and then you put food that you would normally throw in.
Yeah, that's all fine. I just can't do it physically. I'm disabled.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. So hang on just one second. I gotta shut a door.
Hi, Susan. Nice to see you, sweetie. Hi, everybody else.
Hi.
So, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, the next is media and communication, and it has cookbook from the garden. Does anybody know anything about the cookbook?
No.
I think that was Renee over there on the first row that had something, so we'll push that back. Education, Susan, you often kind of worked on education with reading in the garden. We
Yeah,
also,
I haven't been so active, and I have been just diagnosed with yet another autoimmune disease. So I'm having some struggles figuring out the medications. I think it would be great if we could get Anako back to do some reading this summer. And that does happen at a different time, Cordula, than I think on Saturday mornings. I can't remember exactly, but maybe we can pursue that.
yeah,
the
I can
summer.
look into that again. 'Cause I know
Thank
that
you.
was, yeah, that was good.
I know. That would be great.
Yeah. And one other event, I'm sorry that I forgot about in April, the Virginia Avenue Park always runs a literacy festival. And we will be having a booth down over there. It's really geared towards youth and, I mean, very young, like 3 to 5. So,
That's-
but what, Cordula,
I-
you,
I'm barely 5.5, so I still go.
you would get along well with that group over there, I expect.
I am
So
sure.
there, Tim and Ishara, I think have already offered to volunteer, but I'll be putting out a volunteer opportunity if anybody's interested in going over there. And even just, it's a long day. It's like 10 to 2. You swing by and like let them take a break or something like that. All right, let's move on. Alan, do you want to talk about the urban ag incentive zone?
I don't know much about it. I mean, I wasn't a part of the meeting. But from what I understand, all but one Rec and Parks Commissioner voted to pass the suggestion along to council. I don't know when they will do that, but in principle, they agreed that they would push it and support it before the city council. But I have no idea what their timeline would be. And the one person who abstained, I don't know if he was confused or what, but it wasn't like he voted against it, he just abstained.
Was it John Smith who abstained?
Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
and which is curious because I spoke to him, well, I communicated with him, and I thought he was kind of on board with the whole concept, but I think he's, it had got all mixed up in his mind evidently about term limits somehow, and I really don't know how that happened, but anyway, I can't speak for the thought process there.
Good old
But
term
the rest
limits.
of the commissioners voted to pass it on to council. And then I guess somebody needs to stay on their staff at least to say, okay, when's that going to happen? Because it's up to the staff to agendize that.
All right. Next agenda item is administration, and it is the recruitment of new advisory members and upcoming elections. So, elections will be taking place in June. We are currently, where are we? Sorry, I'm trying to pull up our board roster, the board roster. There are technically 11 seats. Chris, Susan, and Kristen from Main Street, their term expires in June of 2022. And it looks like Nat is, and so there would be 1, 2, 3, and then technically there are 2 other open seats at Main Street. So there will be 5 open seats for the advisory committee for Main Street. Nat expires in 2022. Alan in 2023, and Radana has resigned. So then Nat and the vacant spot there. So there'll be 2 spots open at Park Drive as well. And Kaya, it looks like you're not going anywhere. So nobody for Euclid. You're stuck with that one. Any thoughts or ideas on any gardeners that you think we should reach out and approach?
Oh, shoot.
I heard Renee on Main Street at one time was talked to by Chris and Randy, but maybe she'd be interested.
Okay.
Teague, I'm feeling like I'm so out of touch. I don't know so many of the new gardeners at all. And so I don't have a sense of anybody that would, I mean, usually people the first go round at least are just so happy to have a garden and want to focus on the garden, but I don't even know how many old folks that are newer, than that I don't know. So that's a problem. You probably have a better sense of people just because of your interactions with them, with all the contracts and stuff. What do you think?
Cordula?
Well, I was talking with Chris about something similar to this, and she talked about maybe having some mailboxes and naming the pathways. So if we had a name on it, we could maybe have a little flyer in each box and say, I'm so-and-so, and I'm in garden such and such. Would you like to meet? Maybe leave a phone number. So that might be a way, because sometimes when we're not at the same time, even with gardeners that I like to meet or see or know, I'm coming time. So that might be a nice way to bring us a little bit more together.
Can we get back on track a little bit about just the upcoming election? We're just talking about recruiting. It's a good idea, Cordelia, but I don't think that's going to happen between now and the election, to have boxes and names and all that. But it is a good idea, or other concepts about getting to know the gardeners. But right now, have you spoken with Eric in the back of our garden, Teague, in the corner?
I have not. I mean, I haven't spoken with him recently. Are you thinking he might be of interest?
I'm just, there are so many people who have already been on the committee in my little
Yeah.
garden, and and some you wouldn't want to have them repeat that by any stretch of the imagination. But so, and then there's others who are no-shows. I haven't seen several of them for months. And I know that one of them has somebody, a volunteer, taking responsibility. Another one is just gone. And then the one that had been gone for a long time is evidently back with some encouragement. But there's really nobody there. There's the 2 older people, the Iranian lady, and then the Iranian fellow, the former teacher. And there's nobody really else except there's ladies back in the other corner across from Eric and his wife. But that's it. So everybody else has either been on it or has said they don't want to be on it. And at a certain point, you kind of run out of options for this. We discussed this a little bit at the administration subcommittee meeting, that it's increasingly difficult to recruit people because I guess everybody feels like a one and done sort of thing for anybody. I mean, the vast majority of folks. So the question is, do we continue to expect to have 11 members? And if not, then what, maybe we need to ask the attorney's office, what can we do in terms of like having just the quorum for a meeting? Is it possible to have a flexible quorum, a fluctuating quorum based on, the conditions of recruitment? But unless there's some other kind of incentive, getting people who have done their share and stepped up and done their year or 2 years or 3, maybe even 2 terms, that, or some who, like, there are a few on this call who have done it for 20 more years or more years. So, but those are very rare people. And it's a conundrum that I don't know that we're going to be able to solve tonight, but it's certainly going forward. We're going to have, we can make all the suggestions we want, but it still takes people stepping up. I only mentioned Derek, and then there's also the new people in our garden, but one of them's got 2 little children. I don't know if she'd do it. And the other one just came in a couple of months ago, but she and her husband have a history of civic participation in Santa Monica, so maybe she'd be interested as well. I think you know who I mean, right?
I do.
Yeah, it would be how to get some of the newer people at Main Street. I think we've been hoping that people would come to the breakfasts on Saturdays. That was a good way for people to meet each other in the past, but that hasn't been happening. So I don't know how we get more people that are actual gardeners right now involved. And there's certainly enough at Main Street that haven't been on the committee before,
Okay, well, I have some suggestions, and we will, I guess we'll have to try to figure it out as we go forward. I am planning on sending out requests for nominations kind of middle of May. So, I think maybe if there's a breakfast in the gardens, I'll talk to Chris about that and see if they can't start trying to recruit some people at those. And we'll see how it goes. All right. There is a Santa Monica Roots update, but I don't think anybody here from Santa Monica Roots to update. No. Commission on Sustainability Liaison update. I don't think there's anybody here for that either. Is that correct? Which moves us into new business. First one is the role of community gardens to support the organics recycling law.
I've been finding lots of lovely little bags of compost near the garden gate.
You mean of kitchen scraps?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so people are
Dropping them off. I think so. I've been taking them and putting them in the green bin, and I'm assuming that might be places where people don't have a green bin at home, although I thought everybody was supposed to have one now, so I don't know. But I have definitely seen that in the last, well, I guess I haven't been at the gardens real consistently lately, but at least the last couple of times I was there, I put away compost into the green bin that was outside.
A lot of the apartment buildings haven't gotten their green bins yet.
Oh, okay.
So there's still a lot of not composting going on. So I know that in the building I live in, we don't have a green bin.
Mm.
So we sneak around at night finding green bins and dump our compost in. But not everybody does that. So, and I know that there's quite a few other apartment buildings that don't have their green bins yet.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
So.
Yeah, I think it's been a slower a slower rollout for that than it necessarily needs to be. So I'm sorry, Kyle. So do you want some type of laminated sign out there that says "Don't drop"? No. Okay.
It hasn't been, I mean, it's actually been bagged and no critters have gotten into it. So it's easy to deal with. I just have noticed an uptick in it, so that's interesting. I appreciate that rather than it being heaved over the fence, and maybe making it, maybe not.
Okay.
Is this your item, Teague, or did someone suggest this
Chris,
item? I'm just wondering, aside from what the city is now doing because it's mandated by the state, which is a great thing. I don't understand how there could be an organized role for the gardens to be involved in that.
Yeah, I think Chris was thinking that it would, you know, there's a group called LA Compost that has created some composting systems around community-based systems, right? So that people with kitchen scraps are coming by and dropping them off. The issue you get into is that you have to have the room for all of that and the space to be able to process that and the brown waste and things. And so we have it at Ishihara Park, we have the 3-bin system and brown material. So we do accept people bringing in their kitchen scraps. But you know, Main Street Garden doesn't have a place to handle those types of thing. Euclid has one that's more of a soil building kind of a garden bed. I think Chris was just hoping to say that what we should, the gardens should be looking at opportunities to try to help with these ways. And if it even just means, you know, providing education to people on where things can go. But it sounds like one of the big holdups right now is that the green bins are not everywhere and aren't accessible. So Kristen, you're telling me that you don't have any in your alley and that you are driving to other alleys?
Well, we walk down the street. We don't drive. We walk our compost down the street on trash day and look for green bins and compost our greens, our kitchen waste in those green bins that are already out on the street.
So Kristen, I think you're, whoever's managing the apartment building is responsible, because whenever that law went through, boom, we actually already had a green bin here. Jim and I got a green bin for our building a long time ago,
Okay.
but they dropped off a new one. So I do have an extra one if you need it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and it just would need to be, make sure it needs to be serviced. I'm gonna check with our resource recovery recycling and see if I can't get you all a contact information to see if we can't get some more out there. That might be a way that we could at least have our gardeners kind of help with that. Okay, well, I don't know if Chris had anything else, but we can address it when she gets back to the next meeting. So Cordula, there is on the agenda a business item about naming paths and putting up gardener mailboxes. Do you want to talk about that now, please?
You're muted, honey. You're still muted, Cordula.
There
Okay,
you go.
Okay. Yeah, Chris mentioned it to me. That's the only reason I brought it up. Yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea. It's very sweet to name it, you know, the butterfly path or the bird path or whatever you want to name it. We can choose those names. And then if everybody had a little number with their name, then there's a way to communicate with those people. And that could be fun. And would also give you a chance if you had any communication that you could put in there for them or give to one of us, and we'll be happy to help you put it in so you don't have to go to every mailbox. So that can always be worked out. So I'm happy to help in any way with things like that. So I'm in the garden pretty much all the time, so it's not a big deal. I think it's lovely how things are coming along. And just going back to the signs for a minute, I love the blue color. I think that's a great color. It's a mind color. So that's good. Anyway.
No, whether, speaking of this kind of thing, I think that it would be almost prohibitive to give everybody a mailbox at their plot. I just think that the cost or the you know, just what's behind having to do that would not be workable. However, there, in my mind, there has never been, and there really ought to be, access to where, who has what plots where. And it doesn't even necessarily have to have their contact information, but at least just the names of the people and what plots they're in, so that everybody can go, oh, so you're Jack. Hi, I've been wondering your name, but now I know. And just so every gardener, but especially people in the advisory committee, which I've asked for this before, T, should be able to have a plot map of who's where. But I really think it should go beyond just us. It should be anybody who comes on as a gardener gets that. And, you know, if for some reason you don't want to be identified as being a gardener, well, A, what are you doing there in the first place? And second, I guess, you know, if you insist, we could leave your name off, but it should be like a standard operating thing that everybody knows who their neighbors are.
Yeah, I
It's a
agree.
wonderful,
What we were trying to do. Thank you,
I think
Alan.
it's a great idea, Alan, and we've had pushback. We tried 15 years ago to get everyone to have mailboxes in their gardens, just your own thing. You know, like I just had a good sized plastic container with a lid. And people pushed back, and people went berserko about other people knowing their names. How about that?
Really? Wow.
Wow.
Well, you know, so what? You know, if
So
we
what?
do
You'll go to the city attorney and
well,
sue
no,
your
Kate,
ass.
at a certain point, you have to say, well, okay, people don't like the idea that they have rules of any kind. And
Right.
so
They
too
don't.
bad, there are rules. And if you participate in a certain community gardening program, then you're identified to the community of those gardeners.
Or it
Simple.
could just, maybe it could just be the first name so that the last name is not there. In case somebody breaks in and takes down the names and finds out who you are and how much
Comes
money.
to your house and robs you.
Yeah, well, I'm just talking about this being issued by Teague to gardeners electronically, so that everybody, if they want to look it up on their laptop or their phone or their computer, they can say, oh yeah, there's the garden map and so is here. And, you know, first names, last names, whatever. It's just so you know that there's somebody next to you who has a name.
That's an idea. Teague, do you have any prohibitions about giving out information? I think you
Yeah.
do.
We do, but I've been thinking about this conversation for a little bit, you know, because I know at Ocean View Farms, we inside one of our sheds, we have a map up with everybody's name on there. So I think it would be certainly nice, like inside the gardens, to have, you know, a posted sign where things are and everybody should have access. And I meant to reach out to our city attorney's office and see if there were any prohibitions. So I made a note on my agenda here that I will reach out to them and see if there are any restrictions with us giving first names and last initials. I think that whoever said that some people don't want it to happen are probably right, but I'll check with the city attorney's office and see about that. And we'll make sure that I get the most updated plot map out to you all tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Well, thank you, that would be great.
Great.
But expect people to be saying they have religious objections, or maybe that they have, because of their disabilities, you know, they can't.
All right.
Don't happen.
So, and then I do agree that with all of you that there should be an easier way to like pass notes along. So maybe it's not mailbox, but some type of an informal note passing ability would be an idea. Kaya, yeah?
Well, I was just thinking that, like, especially with Euclid, I mean, maybe once every 2 months or something like that, we could just have an evening, hour-long gardeners get together. You know, something like that, where that's how we get to know each other, and you know, we can exchange things and things like that. I mean, I very rarely see the other gardeners,
Yeah.
you know, and then it's just, hello, how are you? You know, we don't really communicate. But if we just had get together once in a while. Okay, the gardeners are going to get together. Come on, we're going to bring seeds or whatever, or a plant or something to get us together to get there, rather than trying to communicate with notes and mailboxes and things like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Just
I'm quite okay with that. Cayenne, we can plan an upcoming, summer Euclid potluck or something like that. We can talk offline and do that.
yeah.
Um,
How about an Easter egg hunt?
Too late.
But that would be fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We used to do that. We used to party for Christmas in somebody's house. Many of the gardeners, usually 20. Remember, Susan? I
Yep.
forget. Francis
I
was
think we should have to have happy hour in the garden once a month
Yeah.
in the
With,
evening.
I'm fine.
you got to
with
change a
me.
few alcohol rules for that one. And who's to say we haven't done that?
Who mentioned alcohol?
Yeah, not me. I didn't hear anything.
I don't-
Okay.
yeah.
So, okay, we'll more to talk about that, but I do think we do need to increase the opportunity for people to have proper discussions, whether it be passing on notes or meeting in person. So we'll make a point of looking into doing some of those things.
Hey, T,
Just get to know each
do you
other.
think you could send out, excuse me, Ellen, could you think maybe it would be helpful to just sort of send out a little reminder to all the gardeners saying, hey, we do this thing at Main Street every second Saturday. And part of it was so that gardeners could get to know each other. And it's getting to be time to be planting summer gardens. Maybe you want to swing on by and see who's there and what they might be able to offer you in terms of information. You can tell I'm on my new drugs, huh? I'm just full of ideas.
I'll send a reminder about Saturday out and remind people to come down and get some ideas and suggestions.
It's mixing the drugs with happy hours, Susan. It's
Yeah,
causing-
Susan. Okay. All right. I'm going to move on to rules and regulations review recommendations. That is also a Chris item. Anybody? I think the idea is that there are a couple. Well, I'm not exactly sure. Alan, you were involved in that discussion a little bit.
About what?
The item is rules and regulations.
I know, but it's not ringing a bell, Teague. I'm not sure. I mean, I could make up a whole bunch of my own.
I think we've just gotten rules signed and approved by Public Works, but going into next year, there is a desire to look at some updating some of the new rules. So expect probably in June, July, we'll start reviewing things. A couple of the items up that are going to be up for discussion again are providing community service hours. So a tracking of individuals either doing this type of thing or participating at an event or hosting an open house or going to school and participating, so that would be one
Or
item.
serving on this committee every
Correct.
10 years.
Or serving on this committee. Another item up for discussion would be the use of automated irrigation systems. As I've been, we've pushed a couple times trying to get, I don't mind drip irrigation, but we've been pushing for a couple times trying to get the automated, so the timed system, so people actually aren't there when their watering is going on out off of the rules and regulations, but it keeps getting pushed back. So we're going to readdress that. Those were two of them. I don't remember, Alan, if there were any more that we were going to look at kind of addressing.
There may have been a couple, but those are the two main ones that I
Okay.
recall.
So just know that those are going to be coming up. So we will look
Maybe,
at. Go ahead.
maybe we want to add, and your name will be known to your fellow gardeners.
I mean, adding that in, I think it should be a community program, so it shouldn't be an issue. But I will check with the
Okay,
attorney's
cool.
office about that. So just know that discussion is going to come up. Previously, the way it's always worked is we'll have to have a couple community discussions and give gardeners an opportunity to give input as well. So it, doesn't necessarily go as quick as everybody hopes it would, but I think we will review them again next year. Lastly, I think then that's really all of the agenda items. Is there anything else anybody would like to discuss this
Well,
evening?
if we can go offline again before we had our quorum, and I'd like to know if you have some thoughts that you can share about that, because it was kind of weird.
Are you talking about the Eddie's Liquor?
Yeah,
Shall we, are we ready to call, are we ready to adjourn this meeting?
move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you all for joining. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but if you all want to, like listen in,